Yeah, one thing that one should never neglect in life is asking God for wisdom, because wisdom is everything. He said, in all you're getting, get wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. If you have these three things, the sky will not be your limit, but a stepping stone to the better things that God has predestined for you. Hi guys, welcome back to this corner. Thank you for, if this is the first time you're coming across this beautiful channel, you are in the right place, believe me. And I want you to go straight and tap the subscribe button. Beside it, you will see a bell. Tap the bell and tap all. That means as you're tapping, you're saying each time I have a new video, you will be notified. Okay, so back to this particular story. I've been trying to ask myself, is it necessary to talk about? But I think I need to talk about it because, so many persons have similar experiences, not really because they are not related as the person we're going to be talking about on this particular episode, right? So I know that most of you still remembered Olajumoke Oni in 2016, popularly called Jumoke the Bread seller, which inspired millions of Nigerians. Listen, even pastors started talking about it. When God, remembers you, it will be like the Jumoke story. I will never forget. All right, and it captured the interest of international media, and it served, yes, as a prayer point for many who desire such overnight transformation and distinct favor. So Olajumoke the Bread seller is a Nigerian model turned motivational speaker who received public attention while hawking bread on Olonide Street, Yaba, Lagos. I listened to her interview and I was very touched because some of the things she said, it was nowhere. It was nowhere. This is a child, an adventurous child who grew up in a poor family, and as usual, if you are in this part of the world in Africa, most families, when their kids start growing and they don't have money to send them to school, or they think school is too expensive, so the next thing they do is to send them to go learn a skill, just to stand on their own, and also in turn help the family. And that was the story of Olajumoke. So when Olajumoke got to a certain stage in her life, her parents decided, they live in Ire, all right, and the only thing she speaks is Yoruba, so she's not lettered enough to speak English. So they sent her to go learn how to make hair, stylist, right? So, and that was where she met this man that she calls her husband, even though we just discovered that that man is or was her baby daddy because she was not legally married to him. And as usual, when a young girl meets a guy and whatever is moving you, and people are talking, people are saying, no, don't go this low, don't do this, because the guy was just, was just not doing something that you would say was fetching money on a regular, all right? So you could say today he's a mechanic, tomorrow he's a bricklayer and all that. So you see, he doesn't have any stable means of income. But Jumoke was head over heels and was not even interested in whether this person can feed her or not. And of course, from her interview, she said her mother's elder sister, her family entirely, opposed to her relationship with this very baby daddy. But she kept a deaf ear, She didn't listen to her parents. She didn't, especially her mother. She didn't listen to her mom's sisters. One was already living in Badon, so was telling her that I'm not sure you can survive living with this person. And they met at the point where she was learning how to make hair, and the guy was living in Osun State at the time. Okay, so at some point in the middle of all this, she got pregnant, and at that point, she didn't know what to do, so she had to pack in to live with her baby daddy. And of course, if you're an African, it's even difficult when they come to, marry you properly, spend money, do all the celebrations. It's difficult. Like you need to stand your ground for you to survive in such homes, let alone when they did not come to marry you officially. You're going to get all the shit. And I think that was the case of Olajumoke. So when she packed into the family house, to live with her so-called mother-in-law, it became hell on earth, because the woman we were always fighting, and this guy was one person who was not, well, maybe he just had this idea of, I don't think my wife will tell me anything. Whatever my mom tells me is what I'm going to do. So whatever the mom says, he comes, he beats her. He was very, very abusive, all right? And while that toxic relationship was going on, she had the second one. And at some point, she said she had to open up to a friend of hers who was living in Lagos. She told her friend what she was going through, and the person was like, so why you calling him, a husband, Okomi in Yoruba language means husband. So why are you calling him husband? Because a husband cannot be treating you in this manner, right? She said, in fact, the guy will inflict injuries all over her body, that she will have to wear a kind of long sleeve to cover it up. And remember, she packed into the family house of this guy, and they were also students, living in that family house. So most times these students will feel sorry for her, and also, ask her how she's surviving with this guy. So I cannot just imagine what her life was until, before I forget, she said she went back to her mom to tell her mom what she was going through, and the mom was like, I can't even come there because you are not a wife. I didn't give you out to any man, so you are, you're just there on your own. So coming there, somebody can ask me, did we marry your daughter? So why are you making noise? And that's Africans for you, all right? So that made her to keep quiet. But then she got to a point where she knew that something was going to happen to her. She was going to die if she doesn't take any step. So that was how she relocated, with her friend from Osun down to Lagos. And then she started, she started working in a bakery. That means, she says she hawks twice in a day. She goes to the bakery to pick bread by 5, make sure she sells before 12, and then go back home and take a rest, and then, bath and all that, and go back to the bakery by 2, and then sell till maybe the end of the day, just to, put soul and spirit together. And so on this particular day, Jumoke came out as usual, and from her story, she said she saw people, Auntie T.Y. Bello was, covering, they were taking a photo shoot, and she was passing, her own was to go and sell her bread. She was not interested in what they were doing because, people gathered there. She said she just walked past the place, and that was how their picture changed her life. So unknowingly to her, she had walked into a photo shoot session of British rapper Tini Tampa by Nigerian photographer T.Y. Bello. So while they were making edits, they found an image of Olajumoke and Tini Tampa amongst the photos. All right, so T.Y. Bello searched for Olajumoke and photographed her. So that was how her story of stardom, began. So she appeared on the cover of every international and even locally recognized. I mean, when we say locally, we're not talking about the mushroom ones. Edited magazine in the country. She was there. She was appearing as model. She got jobs in some major presenting shows and makeup schools. Sources and outlets, including CNN and BBC Africa. We don't want to bring those clips here. So, but let's just continue with the story. All right. So subsequently, as companies trooped in to tap into her overnight brand success to favor the 31-year-old, people also refer to her as the Nigerian Cinderella, the bread seller who got a 5-year rent of a fully furnished apartment that was sponsored by CG Moto. Remember, she was even given an option. She was the one that said Ikeja was the best place. I hope you don't forget that. So she was given a luxury apartment construction company. She also secured a modeling contract with e-commerce company, Payport, and Zenith Bakery. So lest I forget, Stanbic IBTC gave her children scholarship, and the scholarship is still running till date. All right. So, but just how many years down the line she crashed again? Now it was gathered that her problem started with her getting a new manager, called Victoria, who took her to South Africa for the Soweto fashion show, where she literally sponsored every single thing, from the flight to the meals to the accommodation to even the Uber that they used. And at the end of the day, she was handed down 50,000 naira. Okay, so she had started having issues. The person was not managing her brand very well. Then her so-called baby daddy or husband on the other side was busy demarketing her by going for interviews on different stations, telling them how she's now rude, she has thrown courtesy to the wind, how she no longer listens to him, how he's the one taking care of the home since she's always busy taking care of the children, cleaning, cooking and all that. But when she comes back, she looks down on him, and how she has been involved in different adulterous relationships, and just demarketed. And of course, if what ambassadorial deals are, they don't like to the companies or the organizations that gave you the ambassadorial, they might not just like to be associated with anything negative. All right, so when these things were going on, those ones that already gave their contract were just waiting for the contract to elapse, and immediately it did, they refused to renew it, and so no money was no longer coming in, and so she had, and her rent expired. She had to move out and move right into the suburb of Lagos. Do you understand? And at the end of the day, the marriage did not succeed, and the man went back to wherever he was coming from. The so-called manager had taken his own portion of whatever she made, and she was left with nothing, just her and her kids. And so she went back to her helpers, she went back to T.Y. Bello and Azuka, she started begging them, and they forgave her really. And from there, she was now like, they don't have money to, little expenses, if like feeding, like taking care of her children was difficult. I remember that Sijimoto already paid for her to go for distant education program in Lekki, and so when she left and went to the other side, transportation became an issue, so she had to drop out. So at this point, nobody, in fact, the media wasn't even promoting her, and nobody was talking about her. So she had already gone out of her mind. So we're no longer talking about Jumoke, except for just a few days ago when the awesome Madam Azuka decided to bring her back into limelight by going to different stations. She also went to TVC to speak with them and tell them what they are trying to do and how they want to bring her back, and told us that part of her problem was illiteracy and all that. Before she even granted this interview. And I'm just thinking that God is an awesome God. How God can forgive you even when you are, you have done, what men will see and say, you're finished. But God, in His infinite mercies, will still give you an opportunity to redeem yourself. And that's the story of this lady. All right, so we just pray that at this point that she's coming back, she'll come back stronger, she'll come back wiser, she will come back knowing that only God will make all things beautiful for her, and that God has started this work in her is the one she will hold close to her chest for her to, for her to soar through, right? And the lessons learned in this particular story, which was even the first reason why I decided to do this story, is that it's always important that you listen to the voice of wisdom. It's important that you go to school. Education is not scam. People say education is scam. Education is no scam. It might not give you all the money, but there's some kind of enlightenment that it brings into your life. It makes you try to reason things before you conclude, right? It gives you that kind of exposure that lets you understand that, hey, I can also do this thing this way without doing it this way, right? So, and that's just that. And another important thing is that it's always good for us to listen to our parents. There's nothing beats that parental blessing. Absolutely nothing beats it, right? So, and that's where we're going to stop for today. We've talked a lot about this Olajumoke stuff, and we want to end. And when I come back, keep being you. Bye for now.